Greetings and salutations, my friends. This is Rob Anderson with the Rob Anderson Show, Foundational Healing, and I'm pretty sure it's episode 6. Don't quote me on that. I maybe should have checked before I started recording, but it is what it is. And before we get started today, we've got a special message from our sponsors, and this is to the government of Canada. Let my people go. And now back to our regular scheduled programming. Okay, hold on. Something's popped up here on Zoom. Oh, it thinks I'm doing singing or music. Anyways, so thank you for joining me. I don't know if I said that already. I do appreciate you sharing your time and space with me today. And today is all about getting in shape, fitness, workouts. As I mentioned last week, I wanted to go back and share things that I wish I knew back then when I first started getting in shape or healing. And I guess healing is an all-encompassing thing. It's foundational healing isn't just about um, body fat or muscle or anything like that. It's not just about the external, it's about everything. It's about the root cause analysis, the internal, your emotional, spiritual, mental state, as well as what you're consuming, not only by food, but friends, family, news, media, social, and otherwise, what's going on in your environment. So it's really the full spectrum of healing. But today, I think for a lot of people, for myself, at one point I was 250 pounds, and right now I'm about 95 pounds less than that. So how do you get from how do you get from there to here? Well, it's a slow process. And so also today we're doing a little bit of a different perspective. I don't know if you can tell. I've got the camera in a different spot. So sometimes a different perspective is good, right? So let me know if you like this one better, or if it's a little bit easier. I think it's probably easier on my my neck because I'm not looking up at the camera so much as directly into it. So I think it's going to be good. And as I mentioned today, about fitness and working out for myself personally, um, I had a lot of injuries working out, doing P90X, tearing a rotator cuff, throwing out my lower back. And believe me, those are both two injuries that you do not want to experience. So if I could go back and do it all over again, and the advice I would give to people, obviously my the only advice I give nowadays is go within and listen to your body, rather than your mind, because my mind was, oh yeah, I can do P90X, like just always about like, yeah, let's get it done, let's go at it. That's so much of our society, that pervasive competitive attitude. And it's good to have a can-do attitude, but if you're so stuck in your head, your mind's gonna lie to you. Your mind's gonna say, yeah, I can totally bench press 200 pounds. No, you can't. Not at the beginning. So work up to it. Take it slow. Do things that are low impact. And and really, I think if I would go back now and do it again, knowing what I know, is I would just start with doing yoga. And as a guy, as a male, when I was starting my weight loss journey in my early 30s, doing yoga wasn't even on my radar. To, for somebody who grew up in Northern Ontario, kind of an isolated hockey city, um, eh, guys didn't do yoga. There was no men doing yoga. Doing yoga was gay. It wasn't even on our radar. There was doing stretching, did martial arts and stuff like that. So stretching was on the radar, but definitely not yoga. But I think yoga has a different kind of aim with it, and being very slow and methodical about it, and it's very important. So, as I mentioned, um, twice in my life, when I was starting to get in shape or um, work out or whatever, trying to have a routine to burn off, the excess weight I'd accumulated over the years. I was trying to do P90X, like in my mind, I was going to get in shape in 3 months, And that's not to say that there's people out there that don't do it, that really commit to it, but and have the discipline. But a lot of it comes from the mental energy. So for myself, what's your why? Look at your why. Why are you doing this? Why was I trying to do P90X? Because I felt fat and gross and I wanted to be awesome. I wanted to be like, oh, I wanted to get the girl of my dreams. And I didn't think I was going to do that with being fat and gross. And so that's such a self-defeating um, and almost like cursing yourself by saying that about yourself. But that's really truly how I felt. And so you have to be honest with yourself and where you are to get where you want to go, right? So I think that's a good place to start and ask your body, go within, say, body, like your body's not going to lie to you. And if you've been going through your whole life not listening to it by doing things, overeating, drinking, smoking, doing just all kinds of destructive habits, overworking, doing stressful things, doing things that aren't your highest joy. There's so many things that put stresses on our undue stresses on our body in today's society that is absolutely bananas. Our body needs a break. So maybe if you're the first thing you want to do when you start your healing journey is just take it easy. Start walking, start simple with doing yoga. And the reason I recommend that now is because on the second time, the first time I tried doing P90X, I ended up tearing my rotator cuff. And that, if you've ever had a rotator cuff injury, that is horrible. I couldn't even lift my hand inches past my side. It was basically, it took me months till I could raise my hand, maybe probably 6 months to a year before I could even raise my hand above my head. So if you try to go gung ho and jump right into it and end up hurting yourself, you're going to end up it's sliding back. You're going to be in pain. So, it's hard to move forward when you're in pain and you can't even lift your arm, let alone a weight or do a push-up. So just take it easy. And so the second time I started doing P90X, um, again, I didn't have great core strength and I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know how off my alignment was with my spine and all these other things. And I was doing something even it wasn't even pushing too hard or seemingly pushing too hard. I wasn't lifting a lot of weight. I was actually doing plyometrics with a 15-pound weight jumping back and forth like this. And then all of a sudden I felt my lower back give out and I fell to the ground and I was like, oh my God, this is what happens when people say they throw their back out. I never really experienced it until you experience that pain. I always thought people were like, oh, suck it up, like throwing your back out. What does that even mean? But once you experience it, man, it's not something that you'd even wish upon your worst enemy. And so that's where I found myself. And after that injury, I couldn't do anything for months. It was excruciating pain. I thought I was going to have to go get surgery, and I had spoken with other friends about who'd had similar injuries and all this stuff. And being my stubborn self, I didn't want to go see a doctor. And I said, I want to heal this naturally. I want to figure it out myself. I don't want to get discs fused. I don't want to figure out how bad it is. I don't want to get some diagnosis that's going to put me in fear. So I didn't end up going to the doctor, neither good nor bad, but that was just my decision. But it was months of excruciating pain, inability to sleep, tossing and turning, and that's not something I'd wish upon anybody. So how that looked for me after a while, I said, okay, you know what? I had spoken with a couple friends who were doing yoga. My brother was doing yoga, and he did this introductory yoga course called Yoga with Adrian. And it's for beginners. It's very simple. The first lesson is literally sitting there with your legs crossed. It's very introductory. You don't have to, if you're an inflexible or inflexible man, um, it doesn't matter. Everybody's got different body types. So you're going to think, okay, watching this yoga with Adrian, who's a fit young woman, she can do all these stretches. You don't want to push yourself too hard in even doing yoga because everybody's made of different body types. So you don't want to start trying to do these weird poses that are going to end up hurting yourself. So just take it really easy. And I liked that because, I haven't done it in a number of years, but I really liked it because she had alternative things. So if you can't do a certain pose, here's another alternative that you can do for the beginner. So it's very beginner oriented, very um, low impact, but it's also not as easy as you think. You think, oh, yoga is easy. I can do poses. Trust me, you cannot. If you get through it without breaking poses or without working up a sweat, well, then you're in a good starting position. But I wasn't. So even if you don't have I made a list and I just want to make sure I'm going through it. So yeah, don't overdo it. So even if you've never had a really bad injury, torn a muscle, broken bones, or whatever, you might still be out of alignment. You don't know what you don't know. So things like posture, sitting incorrectly, sitting for prolonged periods, even standing, I realized my whole life just standing there, I kind of had the same like this vibe, and so recently I started switching and I said, I need to balance myself out and just like when I'm standing talking to people, either stand perfectly straight up and normal, not on one foot, lean back kind of listening. But everybody's kind of got their own thing. But your posture, uh, if you work an office job and or even if you work something that's just because you have a job that might be lots of activity doesn't mean that activities in healthy postures or lots of times repetitive overhead activities, carpenters or painters, you're putting a lot of strain on certain things. So you want to have a good balance. So if you're and if you're not ambidextrous, balancing it out with left and right hands, to even just sitting there writing a lot at a desk, or you might have a certain way that you write. I know for myself personally, when I'm sitting at a desk, I kind of have the same right-handed thing. I'm not saying to start writing with your left hand, starting from scratch, but just being more consciously aware of your postures and how you sit, how you stand. And I'll get in maybe to that on a later episode. But today, just about taking it easy and doing the yoga and doing it for a long time before you decide to even pick up weights. So maybe for yourself, go to a chiropractor, see if you're out of alignment anywhere, because that's going to be good news. They'll get you back in alignment. The reason I didn't go to the chiropractor, because at the time I was starting a business of my own, I had lived off my savings, I didn't have any money. Chiropractic appointments at the time, $100 a visit or whatever it is, just wasn't in the budget. It's not covered by OHIP, which is for maybe people listening. Um, our healthcare system is called OHIP in here in Ontario, so it's not covered by that. So you have to pay for it for yourself. And I wanted to do something. I wanted to do it myself. That's why I figured doing yoga. So no matter where I am, if I'm off in the woods, living in my homestead one day, um, and I don't have a chiropractor nearby, I want to be able to take care of my body myself, not be reliant on other people's to adjust me, fix me, or correct me. I want to figure out a way to get in proper alignment, and proper physique and postures and all that stuff on my own. And so that's just me. I'm a pretty stubborn person. I like doing things on my own and some maybe to my benefit sometimes and other times to my own detriment. But that's just where I was at. And a few years ago, I was reading a book and it was really the best advice. And that's why I'm sharing with you today is that uh, whatever it was talking about yoga and doing yoga for a year and a half straight before you even pick up a weight, before you do anything else. That's not to say you can't jog or walk or do other things, but just doing that yoga for a year and a half, maybe even longer, depending on, what age you're starting at. For me, I'm aiming this towards people that are kind of, not in their 30s. That's when I started going. So it's people for that, not quite middle age, but getting there, that are up in their years. You're not 19 anymore. You're not 25. You're in your 30s. And if you've never had not that I had a sedentary lifestyle, I just wasn't, and I wasn't inactive, but I didn't make it a daily priority. Walking, it wasn't walking with attention. It was walking to and from work, this and that. It was going out, other things, going out dancing and stuff, or whatever, riding a bike, but it wasn't um, with a focus of getting in shape. And so look at your why. So a lot of I mentioned that before, but I don't think I finished what I was trying to say was that before my why was totally ego driven. Oh, I gotta look buff for the beach. I gotta look buff for girls. I gotta find the girl of my dreams or something. Like it was such a silly mental, ego driven why. Now, my why do I want to be in shape? It doesn't have anything to do with when I take my shirt off at the beach or even look in the mirror. That's an added bonus. But why do I want to be in shape? Why do I focus on my physical health now? Because I want to live a long, healthy life. I want to enjoy my life. I want to be able to do things that are fun and adventurous and go exploring and hiking and whatever it is. Whatever it is, I want to be able to do it and not feel pain or not be apprehensive about doing it. It has nothing to do with, looking good. It has to do with feeling good. It has to do with being able to experience my life in this body and to its to its maximum, to its the most of its physical capability. And that doesn't mean um, I don't need to be strongman taking steroids, lifting as much as possible, but just out enjoying, going for good hikes, playing with kids, friends and family, going whitewater rafting, riding my motorcycle, whatever it is that we enjoy doing in our lives, kayaking, just being, enjoying, experiencing physical fitness and out creating. And that's what I want. I want to be in shape to enjoy my life. Or maybe I'm building my home in the future or whatever it is. I want to be physically fit and active enough so I'm not using it as a means to an end anymore. And when we do things as a means to an end, there's never quality in it. So don't look at it as a static goal, like I want to be buff so I can you know, uh, look, have a good beach bod this summer. That's silly. Just be like, I want to be make progressive small steps so that I can have more enjoyment in my life, so that I'm not fatigued going up the stairs, so that I can bend over and tie my shoelaces without heavy breathing or whatever it is. So you can chase your kid through the yard. I don't have kids, but if I did, that's something that you want to be in shape for. You don't want to be, um, at least I didn't. I don't want to be so overweight that I can't enjoy my life. So taking it easy. What I didn't know that how out of a line my spine was. And maybe I had some previous injuries that were unhealed that I didn't remember. Maybe there's something in there genetic. Maybe there's something that was out of alignment from, sometimes everything's connected, right? So maybe you're out of alignment because of an injury somewhere else in your body that's thrown something out of alignment. And so I am still doing yoga and different types of stretches, and I evolve my workouts and my routines over the years. I don't stick to one thing. I don't do the same yoga program. I kind of listen to my body more. Now I'm doing Tai Chi. I do a lot of dancing, free-flowing movement, just exploring your body because a lot of programs you get rigid and then you kind of plateau and the creativity gets sucked out of it. So when you first start doing it, it's creative because you haven't done it, but then you get to a point where even if you're doing muscle building, you'll stop building muscles just doing those same repetitive exercises. So you got to do things different. And but doing the yoga and just taking it super easy for a year and a half, 2 years, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm telling you right now, it's gonna be profoundly beneficial for your physique. You're gonna lose weight and you're gonna become more flexible. And also you're gonna find um, if you're like me, you're probably going to find areas that you were so out of alignment or things that were out of place that you had no idea. Even myself, I knew my lower back was out of alignment because I threw it out. But there was parts in my lower back and my shoulders and my upper, I guess my collarbone. I had a collarbone injury when I was a kid. I broke that. I'm sure that tweaked me out a little bit and affected other things. And even maybe just from improper postures, sitting at a desk or laying on your favorite couch and however it is, maybe even sleeping incorrectly. I realized that I was sleeping incorrectly, and that was a huge part of maybe why I threw my lower back out. Uh, it seems comfortable, or it might seem comfortable until you realize how wrong it is for you. And so I had to sleep with the lumbar support, now a pillow between my legs, all these things. But even today, within the past, I would say 3 to 6 months, I've been doing, stretching and yoga poses or finding relaxation or extension in areas that I didn't even know I had and feeling cracks or things pop into place. And I was like, oh, like in between my shoulder blades, like, oh my God, I didn't even know that was out of place. So for 40 years of my life thinking I was, oh yeah, I'm in alignment and things, and I didn't even know how out of alignment I actually was. So you don't know what you don't know. Don't, and that's why if I could go back on it again and do it all again, I'd go back and probably visit the chiropractor at least once, have them adjust you, get you in shape. I think they do a scan so they can tell you if where you're misaligned, things like that. I'm not a professional, so speak to one of them, or I'll throw a link down. And if you're local to where I am, I have a friend who's a chiropractor, and he's an awesome guy. His name's Mike. But find a local chiropractor, somebody that you trust. And I'm always a little bit apprehensive of having other people yank and push on you, so that's kind of why I did it myself. But even if you just go there to get a scan or an X-ray or whatever it is to see what's going on with your body, that might be helpful. Just go within, ask yourself, ask your own body. Uh, But just take it easy and ask yourself, why are you doing this? What's your why? And make it so now I enjoy the process. Before I was looking at it as a destination. I want to be fit this summer. I want to have a buff beach bod. Well, that's destination addiction. And if you're not enjoying your workouts, there's no point in doing them. So that's why I said in a previous episode, I got a bike. So it was really fun to, and it was a great way to do that cardio aspect and for myself, after I threw out my lower back, I started doing yoga. And I didn't even start, I didn't lift a weight. I didn't even go for, I think the first time I tried to go for a jog was a year and a half later. And even at that, I felt something and I was like, nope, I got to the end of my street and I was like, nope, turned it back around and went home. And so take it easy. So for myself, what's the best thing if you have injuries, things like that? Yoga, something very light, just even aquasides. I've never done aquasides, but I love swimming and it's a good way to use muscles that we don't always use in our daily lives on land. Um, and uh, and it's a different type of kind of resistance and even just floating will give you spinal relief and adjustments that are really, really great for you. And so what was the next thing that I did when I started doing yoga after I hurt my lower back? And then the next thing that I was doing, I was like, well, how am I going to get into any type? I can't go jogging. I'm not sure about biking. Just doing my yoga and focusing and not hurting myself again. I started just dancing. And it was simple as being at my standing desk and just getting a little bit of movements here and there. It doesn't have to be crazy outlandish break dancing or gymnastics, but just bopping around, enjoying the music and getting expanding your range of motion. So I had an injured lower back. So kind of this was just going with the tunes. And I love dancing. I didn't realize how much I actually did until I was like 19 years old and went to a rave, a couple of them. And then I'd always wanted to learn how to DJ and make music. I'd kind of messed around making electronic music on the computer and keyboard and stuff like that. But then I started DJing and producing music, and I absolutely love dancing. And I'll actually provide some links to my mixes down below because I think dancing is a wonderful way to get moving and be creative. It's so instant. It's like probably one of the most universal raw essences of creativity you can have because you don't need anything else. It's not, sure, there's different art forms with drawing, painting, sculpting, but those are all things that are external to you. Singing and dancing, you get to use your own God-given gifts, your own body. So dancing is one of the most immediate and wonderful and expressive, creative ways to express yourself that I've ever encountered, and I absolutely love it. And you don't need to take lessons. You just got to go with the flow and feel and actually kind of get out of your head. So do a mind to heart drop and just do it. And you're gonna have moves. You've seen people dance. You probably, you can try and emulate them and do your own thing. But for myself, after a lower back injury, if you've ever had a back injury and you're not sure where to start, well, start slow with the yoga. And 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 the reason that's important is this is another thing too, is that what happens is if you have an injury that heals incorrectly, it's like, I don't know if you've ever had a broken arm or something, if it healed incorrectly, or if you waited to go to the doctor and they had to re-break it or something. But I was listening to one doctor speak and he talked about scar tissue and tissue damage and building muscle around an injury. And you're just compounding that injury if it's not properly aligned. And so say if you're out of alignment a bit, and then you start building muscle around that misalignment, you're not doing yourself any favors. So you want to get back into proper alignment before you start doing weights. And so even now, I'm still just focusing on my alignment. I do some light weights, but nothing too crazy, nothing that's, I can't do 10 reps of or whatever. So for myself, it's like 15-pound weights or whatever, and through the whole range of motion. So keep it super light. It's trying to push yourself too easy that you're going to end up getting hurt. And so just take it easy and start with yoga and some light dance and moving around, especially if you've had a lower back injury. You can kind of just bop, and then eventually you can start moving more and throwing in bigger, wider ranges of motions as you regain that muscle strength and heal the injury, whatever it may be, or just get properly aligned. And as I said, even I've been doing this for a while on and off, and I'm still finding new ways that I was out of alignment, new little cracks and pops here, or something moving, and it's like, oh geez, I didn't know I was out of alignment there. And so listen to your body, ask it, talk to it, speak to it out loud, and and just take it easy because there's so many variables that you don't know. And for myself too, I grew up thinking I had bad knees because a doctor said I had Osgood-Schlatter's disease, whatever that meant, and it freaked me out my whole life. And so, yeah, sure, I had a couple knee injuries when I was young, but I went my whole life telling myself that same story, repeating it. Oh, I can't do this. I can't do that because I have bad knees. And so that stopped me from being as active as maybe I could have been because, you know, it was just a mental thing. It was like in me. It was like doctor death by diagnosis or disease by diagnosis. Like maybe I did have something when I was young, or maybe my knees weren't that good, or maybe he misdiagnosed me, or because I had a knee injury and he said it was something else, and that's fine. But the day that I remember that it changed my perception of all that was I don't know why. It's like we have these aha moments in life where we see something and something within us clicks. And it's like a gift from the universe. And I saw this dude. I was working retail at a music store, and I saw this dude come in, and he had no legs. He had a wheelchair, and he had no legs. And for some reason, it was like, man, I've been bitching about my bad knees my whole life, and here this guy is, and he doesn't even have knees, and he's going about his business, and so for some reason that day, I said I'm not going to complain about my knees ever again. I'm going to be so grateful for the knees I do have, even if they're not perfect, even if they have, old injuries, whatever. I'm going to use them to the best of my ability and stop telling myself that same old story. And so when I first started my healing journey, at the beginning, I couldn't even do one squat, not even one, because I thought my knees were so bad, and they probably were because I was focusing on how bad they were. So they were not used properly, they weren't flexed, they weren't extended, they weren't, like, and so I couldn't even do one squat, and the muscles around them and other muscles in my body. Now, today, I don't count how many I can do, but I do 10 squats outside in the morning as soon as I get up and do a little bit of qigong and get the juices flowing. Um, and so now I can, I don't even know what my upper limit is. I don't need to find out, but I do at least 10 in the morning, and I usually do a few more rounds throughout the day. But it was all about going slowly and getting back in alignment and stop telling myself that same old story, because you're never going to break free and break on through to the other side if we keep repeating the same patterns, the same behaviors, the same story, even just the mental story. You don't realize how much, or at least I didn't. It's quite often we don't realize how much we're telling ourselves the same old story and how that story is keeping us locked into a reality that we can escape from if we can just look like today's episode from a different perspective. So look at things from a different perspective because a lot of times it's our thoughts or the thoughts of our ancestors. Remember last week I spoke about DNA. It might not even be just our thoughts that are limiting us in our range of movements and things like that. So if you can, start journaling and just take it really easy and ask yourself, where are my limiting thoughts holding me back? Maybe from doing certain things. Even because I didn't jog for so many years of my life, I'd never jogged because I had bad knees, and I didn't realize that I was jogging incorrectly. I was kind of doing it like running, and it was like super high impact, and I was trying to go as fast as I could because nobody taught me. And then one of my best friends, who was a former boxer, and he was very light on his feet, he taught me how to jog properly, how to hop almost, like a bunny, very gracefully, be light on your feet, so almost bounce rather than run. And that totally changed my perspective. So for years, I would jog with him, and I'm super grateful for that. And nowadays, I don't even jog anymore because at one point, I got to the point where I just wanted to walk. I just wanted to take the time to enjoy it because even myself mentally, looking at my why, I was always, even my jogging, I was trying to beat my previous best time. It was so mental. And often when we have this very mental stress that we're imposing on ourselves when we're doing uh, or wanting to get in shape or whatever it is, be more physically active or fit, it's kind of counterintuitive because you're just stressing yourself out. So now my workout routines, if I can call them that, aren't really routines. It's always different. And I'm learning Tai Chi. I'm learning to move it a little bit slower. Tai Chi is an amazing thing. So if you started doing Tai Chi and yoga and some light dancing, do that for 2 years and you'll be amazed with the efforts. You don't need to just go start hitting the gym and pumping iron because that's all mostly ego driven and it's great. Like, but I see a lot of it and it's like, well, what's the point of it all? Like, like some of the stuff that people do, it's like, it's really ego driven. Like, does anybody need to be able to lift up a car tire and flip it and all this stuff. It's like, no, not really. It's great if you can. I'm not knocking that, but there's no really need for it. And if it's not fun, it's going to be just stressful, arduous, and your heart's not going to be in it. So make it fun. Find physical activities. Maybe it's playing a sport that's low impact, like and it doesn't really matter. Ask yourself what you want to do. Have fun with it. Be creative. And so I think that's it for me today. I don't know if I yeah, I feel like I've covered everything. So if I missed anything, if anything pops up, I'll just have to throw it in next week at next week's episode. Anyways, thank you guys so much for joining me. As always, I appreciate it very much. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, just throw them down in the comments below, and I'd be happy to help or do some content based on any suggestions you may have or questions you may have. And so yeah, that's it for today. So whatever you're doing on your journey, wherever you're starting, just take it easy. And like I said before, it's a marathon, not a 100-meter dash, and you're climbing that mountain one step at a time. And in order to completely change your life, you have to completely change your life. So just get creative with it, have fun, and don't be too hard on yourself because that's what got you into this situation in the first place, right? All right. Thank you guys so much. I love you and wishing you lots of peace, success, happiness, and prosperity this week. Until we meet again, my friends.